slot. La 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 la. Welcome back to the Fields of Portman Road podcast as we review Liverpool's 2-0 win over Ipswich Town on the opening day of the 2024-2025 Premier League season. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis. Let's get into it. Great first win for Liverpool. We are temporarily top of the Premier League. The goal did come from Diogo Jota as well as Mo Salah. Let's get into what happened during the game. Now, first of all, I have to say, first half, we weren't that great. We had a lot of success on the right-hand side. Mo Salah particularly was the main sort of catalyst of that. And, it was, for me, there were definitely reasons to be sort of negative or a bit disheartened in the first half. It was, for me, plenty of chances to kick Ipswich way. You think of the first half, two chances that fell to Mari Hutchinson. There was a chance for their defender Greaves as well in the game. So I think, at half time, I think a lot of us were a bit apprehensive of what was happening. Ipswich had a lot of chances at times. I think there was the left back slot, particularly Robertson. He had troubles at times in the first half. But the key thing was that we ended the first half, level 0-0. I think there was, always going to be teething problems in the slot. It's his first ever Premier League game managing, first game for the club. Playing at an away ground that hadn't had a Premier League game in 20 years, and this is the Ipswich team that back-to-back promotions. The feel-good factor around Ipswich is there to see, and you saw before the game just how good the atmosphere looked at Portman Road, and there's every reason to believe that this team was going to cause us problems. The home crowd was going to really be really noisy and really cause some problems in that sense. And I think, first half, we didn't really, if I'm honest, get going. I really don't think that it was a performance to be too happy about. And we have to address the sort of the injury that happened at halftime. Of course, Quansah did go off at halftime with an injury. Now, I'm looking at the report at the moment. This is from Liverpool.com, where they're saying that Arne Slot did confirm that Jarell Quansah was in fact hooked at halftime after mounting injury fears surrounding the defender. It's saying here that Slot has stated that he was extremely unhappy with Liverpool losing too many duels, both defensively and offensively, decided to pull Quansah for Ibrahima Konate. And, looking at what I'm reading online is doesn't really say what the injury is. Now, who knows, what that would be. It's not really been confirmed yet what that injury is. It could be literally anything, and then I think we'll have to wait and see on that one. And I think that was probably Quansah's chance to stake a claim in the first team. It's been a bit hit. Last season was a bit rotating. It was one day it was Konate, one game it was Quansah, and never really had a settled sort of partner for Van Dijk. You think about the teams of old that challenged for league titles and all that under Klopp. They had that set that partnership. It was mostly Matip alongside Van Dijk, and when he's injured, Liza Lovren came in and played there, Joe Gomez. And the season we came second behind City, the year we won the Champions League, it was Gomez for a lot of that first half of the season before his injury. And then obviously Matip came in and Lovren had a bit of time in as well. So, Quansah will feel like it's a chance missed. And I think he'll be even more, sort of disheartened by the injury. The fact that Konate came in, we looked far more comfortable defensively when he came on. And I think that we look at the best centre back partnership in football history. Think about certainly Premier League history. Think about Vidic and Ferdinand, Terry and Carvalho. What do they have? Two very different centre backs. Quansah is basically looking at Van Dijk, but just a lot younger and a lot different hair. Whereas, Konate is that sort of more like a Vidic kind of defender, and then like John Terry. Whereas you think about Van Dijk, it's more the sort of the Ferdinand, the Carvalho sort of type of centre back. More elegant with the ball, and Konate is more of a stronger sort of a defender's defender, basically. And so I think I've always thought that even before the game, I always thought that Konate would be the better partner for Van Dijk. And I feel like long term, or sorry, short term, I should say, that it is the answer of Konate and Van Dijk. But I will say that with what me and Nick discussed on the last episode with the Van Dijk situation, that he's got 12 months left of the deal, that could go anyway, and he could be not Liverpool player in 12 months' time. He could be no longer with us. So I think if that is to happen, and Quansah obviously got a chance to learn off Van Dijk, I think he'll be also the guy to go alongside Konate. Should that be the case? Before we get on to the second half, I want to get into the West Burn situation in the first half. Obviously, yellow card he got in the game, and then all on the yellow card, deliberately handballed it. They gave obviously a free kick, but they didn't give him the second yellow, which I thought was crazy in my eyes because it was a clearly deliberate handball, and he already on the yellow card. It should have been a red card. Now I realise that it may have made the game different in a good or bad way. You could have easily seen it where 10 men could have easily just cut them open earlier, but at the same time, maybe it's a good thing, especially how the second half went, because it could have either gone the way where they now put 10 11 men behind the ball. Now, Ipswich, to their credit, they gave it a good go, and I was really impressed with their centre back Greaves there, who was a threat in the air and did well defensively in the game. I think he was the one that stood out the most to me in that game. And I thought they did give it a go. They had chances. They really went for it. And I think we thankfully opened up second half and cut through them. But I think they could have easily changed the whole game plan in the first half should West Burnham been sent off, and they could have easily gone down the route of we're 10 men now. Where we sort of had our chance to take the lead. We haven't taken it. Therefore, we're going to try and play for the draw. But it didn't happen. But for me, that was a crazy decision. And there was another situation early in the second half where it was a tough sort of VAR look, and I was surprised about. I was fully aware they were bringing in semi-automated offside decisions, and it seemingly didn't. They're like the ones they use in the Champions League, but seemingly they didn't seem to bring that in. And there was panic in that early second half, I thought, because there was a real obviously the penalty shout that came. I think it was Van Dijk who pushed the Ipswich player, and I think obviously onside it's a clear penalty all day long, but it was a questionable. Also, I didn't really see anything on the replay. There's no lines brought in, so I can't really fully work out from that angle, whether it was offside or not. So for me, we maybe or may not have got a lucky break there. But then I think for me, a switch was flicked. I really do think there was a point in that second half where we didn't start the second half too greatly. I didn't think. I think there was definitely points in that second half where we were, we weren't that great still, and it was basically what we were seeing in the first half. But then there was a point just a few minutes before the goal was scored where we were getting chances in. There was the amazing flick touch from Szoboszlai, one of the moves. There was a chance for Diaz. And Diaz should have scored. I mean, he's been questionable at times finishing wise. That game against Man City last year, there's many of the games last season the same sort of thing where, you think about the old days, you think about Mane would have scored that no problem, and it was just, same position as well as Mane occupied. And I think for me, it would have been, 1-0 a lot earlier had Mane been on the pitch rather than Diaz. But I'm also fully aware that we can't keep going back to that because he did leave us 2 years ago now. It's been a while since he's been there. And I think, when Mane did leave, we weren't thinking Diaz, when Mane was there, Diaz wasn't, from memory, anywhere near as bad a finisher as what he is now. And I feel like, I don't know what's happened there. His finishing the last 12 months, though, has been diabolical. And, it was a great 1-2. And it was, I just don't know what the hell he was thinking with that shot. It looked like he was trying to almost think over the Ipswich goalkeeper and try and have like that kind of finish. But for me, what Mane was so good at was, given the ball in the box, he'll finish it no problem. Very clinical. And I feel like in that situation where Diaz had, he would just smacked it home and made it 1-0. I thought Diaz overall was good. If you take away the finishing, Diaz was once again his normal self. Dribbling is always fun to watch from Diaz. That's one thing you can't deny, is that he is a brilliant player to watch, easy on the eye, and his dribbling is really good. His touch and control is always been pretty top notch. But I think the finishing once again was questionable, and I think that moment there should have really been 1-0. And there was talk about offside, but it was clearly onside on the replay. And for me, it's a shame that he didn't score. But Didn't matter too much because not long after that, that chance happened for Diaz, we got the opener through Diogo Jota. It was a fantastic ball from Trent. It really was. You know, Trent criticised all summer long for his performances in midfield and for the Euros, and pretty much all of last season he's criticised for his defensiveness. Now it's the whole talk about midfield. I think that pass there showed what he can do from right back, because that pass wouldn't be sort of made if he was in the centre midfield position. Now, pretty well he's got the passing ability, but I just feel like where he's there, that was the perfect position for him in that moment, because that ball was incredible, and I think he could have made that from midfield with a lot more players sort of coming at you, a lot more of a tighter space. For me, unbelievable pass, and I was really happy to see that Salah was being unselfish, because as great as Salah's been, and he did look today, break the record for the most consecutive, or most in total Premier League goals on opening days. And he's had as good as he's been. I think there's one criticism that he can be very selfish, but there it was brilliantly unselfish from him. He had the touch, played it off to Diogo Jota. Jota made it 1-0, and that sort of, in the end, I think that's almost settled the game. Not settled the game, but it sort of eased nerves and eased the pressure. And we were sort of rewarded for what was a dominant 5-10 minutes of football. And that was our only real period of the game for the goal, where we were dominating the ball, getting the chances in, and then we got the goal, which is something we often didn't do last year. We had all these chances, never put them away. So it was good to see that we were clinical. I think goes to show again just how crucial Jota is. Now, Nunes didn't play a single minute off the bench, didn't come on. The likes of Simicast came on. I've literally forgotten who else came on now, but Nunes didn't get an appearance off the bench, and that is telling. Because once again, you can make the point that he played for Uruguay in Copa America, but McAllister played in Copa America and got to the final, and he played from the start. So Nunes, for me, that's going to be worry for him. For me, no, because I'm not really the biggest fan. But from Nunes' point of view, I don't believe that that's a good sign that in the opening game, not even being brought off the bench by slot. And going back to Jota, I think it just proves again just how crucial he is to us when he plays. Really is one of the first names on the team sheet if he's fit, which is a big if, because he had problems pretty much throughout his Liverpool career, and that we've missed his clinical goal, because when he first came, it wasn't as much of a miss because you still had Mane there to be clinical. Firmino was there in attack, but you look about Diaz and Nunes, and they're not exactly the most clinical forwards that we've ever had. So I think Jota is, we talked about last season as a fan base, and Carragher mentioned it, that him being the best finisher in Liverpool Premier League history. Now, I would still say Fowler, but I think certainly in my lifetime, because Fowler's prime at Liverpool was before my time. I was born 1995, so I missed the prime Fowler years. But from what I've seen on YouTube and Premier League years and all those kind of programs, I've loved watching him and just how clinical he's been. And I don't think I've seen anyone really in the modern day Liverpool era, certainly since I've been a fan, anywhere near as clinical as Jota, because Jota as a overall player hasn't got a lot in his locker. A bit like Thomas Muller, he hasn't got the speed, he's not got the skills. But what he offers you is what you want from a striker. Really, at the end of the day, is the ability to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think Jota, for me, is everything that you want from a striker in terms of that point of view, because he's just so clinical. And you put him in the box 1-on-1, and I think almost in a way he's actually better, even with I think the harder the chance, the better he is at scoring those kind of goals. But Jota, for me, there's no one I put my mortgage on more in the Premier League, apart from maybe Haaland, that or 1-on-1 or chance in the box in the Premier League. Unbelievable, and he's just. I don't think he gets anyone enough credit. I think because of his injury problems, people don't see him as much as maybe a Haaland. Maybe because we're not winning trophies, maybe or maybe that's why as well. Maybe I don't know, but it's Jota for me is so clinical, and it almost helped really ease the game, because we could have not scored that goal. He may not been playing, or he may not have scored that a chance, and then it could have been a case where longer the game went on, the more Ipswich sat back, and the more frustrated the players are going to get for Liverpool. But ease the nerves there. Brilliant finish that made a 1-0, and it was pretty much comfortable after a goal. And I think that's the thing I want to praise Liverpool for was really that, we've had times in the past where you go a goal up and then we seem to just completely lose track of being in the lead. And I thought for me, it was pretty much, I think it was one Alisson save late on in the game, but if you excuse that, can't think of a save he had to make. And it goes to show again, going back to Canate being there, just a lot more comfortable defensively, I found, since he was on the pitch. But then his centre back partner, Van Dijk, did play a big role in the second goal, and it was a fantastic pass from Van Dijk. It really was, you know, to find Salah. And, you know, Salah again, it's I know he got the goal eventually in that move, but it was good seeing him fighting a man and being unselfish again. And Szoboszlai, who I thought, again, like I said before, I thought he was brilliant, and he got the assist in this goal. Brilliant sort of first time pass, and Salah sort of got the finish off fairly quickly, and it was a clinical finish from Salah, and that's what we've been used to over the years. Now, whether it's just a one off, we don't know because he was pretty poor, particularly after the AFCON last year. But I'm now pretty much I'm satisfied and confident he can get back to his previous form because he's had a summer break from memory. I don't think he had any sort of international tournament. Uh, could be wrong on that. I don't know whether he played any sort of tournament. Let me check that a second. Yeah, summer break. I don't recall Egypt had any sort of major games for Egypt, and you know, I think it's clear to see that he's had that break because he looked for me as sharp as he ever has. Now, hasn't got the same ability he has when he first came, when he beats a man and sort of the goals against Roma in the Champions League semi-final, the goals more recently against Watford and Man City. Haven't seen that from him as much, but still as clinical as he was, as he has been for Liverpool ever. There was Paul Leaf Davis. I mean, Leaf Davis has a lot of promise, and he did well at times, and he had a great season last year. But I think he had a real learning curve today for Ipswich because that right hand side we had no problems all day long. I mean, both goals came from the right hand side. We had chances way before that goal from the right hand side, and yeah, second goal, was again a show of that. And I think recently bias is a hell of a thing because we were quick to slag off Liverpool. A lot of neutral fans were really, really quick to call this the end of the Klopp era. And the year after he won the league, when he had a terrible year, what happened the year later? We went for the quadruple, and then we had an off year again last year. And this year, we started off really well, albeit it's one game, and we had problems in the first half, granted. But people are really quick to write off players as well. We see it in many sports. NFL is another one I cover in my podcast sort of sphere. Same thing happens then. Players have one bad year and they're really written off, and people forget just how good these players are. And Trent was brilliant today. I think also defensively he was mostly pretty good. And Salah the same sort of thing. He was really really good today, and that finish for me was fantastic. And you know to get the record for the most Premier League goals on opening day in history is really good. I mean, players he beat previously were Rooney, Shearer, and Lampard, who all had 8 goals. So that shows kind of caliber of player that he was. He is sort of up there with, and I think I think he's got 10th most goals in Premier League history. There's a good chance he could make it like into the top 6. If he gets 20 goals or more, I believe he can get into the top 6 all-time Premier League goals. I mean, yeah, you can't deny the kind of player he's been for Liverpool in the Premier League. Unbelievable, and I think once again we're going to rely on him a lot this year if we're going to want to compete for at least 1 or 2 trophies, which I expect we will. Now, whether we'll win trophies, I don't know. And I said we wouldn't win any trophies in our predictions, our preview episode with Nick. But I still said we make maybe an FA Cup semi-final, maybe a Champions League quarter-final, still get top 4. So yeah, I think there's definitely reason to be positive, a lot more than to be negative. And I was really impressed overall with Slot's style of play. Second half especially, I thought we were fantastic. There was a move, I believe, yeah, it was in the first half. There was a chance that Trent had where the ball came back to him outside the box and he went for a shot and he went over the bar. But that move, I should say, was just, I think, a great example of what we could do with Slot. It really is, because it was quick, 1-2, fast tempo, and I think it was really nice to watch. I do think it was a fantastic sort of performance in the second half, and I think that's something to really build on. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be a golden era because it's just one game. And to be fair, actually, a lot of managers who get sacked early on do win their first game. I'm not saying Slot will be sacked, but I think you can't always base the first game on the rest of the season. So, yeah, but at the same time, I was really impressed with the overall style of play. It was nice to watch. Defensively, at times, first half a bit sort of worrying, but I think overall, yeah, a lot to be positive about, and I was really impressed in the end with our performance. And yeah, really happy going into our second game, which will be next weekend on Sunday against Brentford. So that's something to look forward to. We will try and bring you a preview of that at some point next week. Looking forward to that one as well. Not sure whether I'll get a review in because I am spending the weekend with my other half's family, so I may not have the chance to go off and record a podcast. So that might be not available, but we'll certainly try and do a preview, which we didn't do for the Ipswich game. So yeah, we'll try and get a review in. I will try and find a Brentford fan to do it with. If not, it'll just be myself or maybe a Liverpool fan as a guest. But yeah, that is where we'll end the podcast for today. Our Liverpool Ipswich Town review as Liverpool get off to the perfect start in the Premier League and temporarily go top of the table with a 2-0 win, thanks to those goals from Diogo, Jota and Mo Salah. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Hope you enjoyed our season preview and our worst and best team 11 episodes. This is a very new podcast. We're still in our first series, so if you can spread the word, that would be great. If you could pass it on to other Liverpool fans or just football fans in general, that could be really good. And hopefully we can spread the word that way. But in the meantime, this has been the Fields at Portman Road podcast with your host, Andy Davis, and we'll see you guys next time at the Red Road.